fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's going in the outside, both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taken Anderson! Anderson's up to him!
Oh my God! Big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's going to get rolled!
Second very close. These guys I want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, there we go!
Oh no!
That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my God!
God, what?
Assist to the front bumper, and he hits him again now. Ray Alfala into the outside wall.
He's gonna pass nearly 3 cars down that front straightaway, and he's gonna get them all done with. What amazing!
Racely to the inside goes Logan Cloudman is gonna touch in. Pit press sideways. What a save!
Look to the outside as Cronkite goes off. De Jong into second place.
Going for the switchback. Oh, pinpoint driving.
It's howling down to the inside.
I trying this contact though. Slide left to the racetrack. Chris Renner drives it back down underneath, and he takes that second spot right back. Joker goes to Garrett Lowe.
Garrett Lowe should take victory with all that contact.
He's going to try and make the move around the outside the Paravolca. That's not going to work, but he's going to try and get the cut back here. Get the run out the Paravolca. That's beautifully done there. Makashiba, there's a little bit of door banging as well.
of our KartSport supported event here. GT3 cars again, this time coming to you from Monza. Obviously, this is the last night in our 3-round series, proudly supported by Brendan Gridley and the Tasman Karts team running out of Nelson there. So we thank them very much for their support for the last 3 weeks. Without the support of those type of people, these type of events don't happen. And obviously also along with the help of Scotty Fountain, he's coming from live from the UK tonight, Sim Speed TV. He's running all the background stuff for us, and our usual supporters of Giltrap Group and Carter's Tyres, KartSport New Zealand's partners. So yeah, great to be back here for our third night. Obviously coming out of Monza, been running GT3 the last 3 weeks. Joining me in the commentary box tonight, we've got a special guest, first time up in the commentary box, fresh from a big weekend racing in Hastings Gold Star. Ari Hutton, welcome to the commentary box, mate.
Yeah, good day, Tony. Yeah, no, it's great to be a part of this. I've been watching over the last couple of weeks, especially through lockdown, and yeah, really pleased to join it, and we'll see how we go tonight.
No, most definitely, mate. Most definitely. It's good to have you along. Obviously, we've sort of had plenty of different people in the commentary box helping us out at times, and we've always tried to mix it up with different people from obviously different parts of either karting and motorsport. So certainly good to have you along tonight, fresh off what was a massive meeting at Gold Star and Hastings over the weekend, wasn't it?
It was like the Nationals that never was. Everyone turned up in force. Some fantastic racing. I would say just about all the best karters in New Zealand at the moment turned up. We had massive fields, over 30 plus karts and multiple classes. And for myself, I got back in the kart again, something I really enjoy. I don't get too many chances to have a go these days, but got back in for Gold Star and ran in the senior DVS class, which was a lot of fun, and yeah, it was good.
Yeah, excellent, mate. It was, as you said, fields of 20 to 30 plus was something that we haven't seen for a hell of a long time. So obviously, lockdown, over the whole COVID thing, really did restrict what we were allowed to do. And then once the club days opened up, the club started to sort of crank along quite well. And this was obviously the first sort of big meeting, inverted commas, if you like, for people to really get their hair down. And obviously coming in later in the year, we've got obviously a lot of other big meetings that we're going to be taking in at KartSport Hastings. So that sort of was a good testing opportunity for people, and obviously a really good thing for the club financially. Good for Gold Star as a series, and good for the trade as well too. So all in all, I suppose you can see everyone's a big winner out of the weekend, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly, and it was great also to have the Pits Media TV team there to do a bit of live streaming of the event, and just to put the sport back out there, show that it's up and running again, and sort of keep promoting it with what is such a talented people we have in the sport.
Yeah, that's right, and it's people like yourself coming back and driving. Obviously, I was there on the spanners for Fraser Hart. Fraser Hart hasn't done a lot of racing since World Finals last year. Year before. So so plenty of old hats getting back in the driver's seat, and obviously plenty of familiar faces as well too out there, which was great to see. So, but yeah, certainly it was a brilliant weekend. It's a brilliant weekend of racing. Excuse me. And we'll be touching more on that as we go along through the evening as well. So, but current job at hand for us this evening is GT3 cars at Monza, our final night of our Tasman Karts supported series. So Monza, obviously, pretty iconic circuit. Italy, essentially probably the home of motorsport, if you like. Between you and me, Ari, we have spent some time in Italy at kart meetings, and it is certainly the home of motorsport, isn't it?
It is. I was actually fortunate enough to go there last year and visit the track with my dad, and what a place it is. It's everything that you imagine and more, especially going and walking around the banking. Just the history of the place, the atmosphere that surrounds it is just incredible. And really interesting is the sound that echoes around the place is insane with the trees all around it. So it is quite a spectacular place and fantastic to be here in sort of an internet kind of way.
Yeah, that's cool. I actually hadn't realised that you'd been there, so that's really fitting that you've actually been to the circuit and experienced it in person. So, and as you said, I can imagine, the way the audio does resonate around the place. It's very similar to sort of certain sections that we have at the Highlands Motorsport Park and Cromwell. I know there's certain parts of that are designed with with the forestry and that in mind. So it's certainly we've got a bit of Monza down there at Highlands, if you like. So, but no, that's really cool that you've actually been there and experienced it in person. So, as we go to our Gill Track Group leaderboard there on the left-hand side, so as our 20-minute qualifying session's been ticking away in the background, I'm not sure how many servers we'll actually have running tonight, depending on how many people we've had come along. But obviously watching this current server at the moment, got some fairly familiar names up there. Our young Nathan Anderson, the Auckland driver, he's been one of our top drivers through the whole series. Travis Smith there in second. He's actually one of our directors, if you like, running, helping Scotty Fountain run the SimSpeed TV production there. So Travis wearing a couple of hats tonight. Young Paulie Blomqvist there in P3, was actually talking to him this afternoon. He was actually at Hampton Downs doing some coaching with some young drivers there. So back in the driver's seat for Paulie tonight. Isaac Fletcher, the South Island driver, actually supported by Tasman Karts there. He's running in fourth at the moment. Christian Hermanson, another name familiar there from running out of Palmerston. Christian was actually running at Gold Star on the weekend. And actually, you've done a bit of driving with Christian in the past as well there, Ari?
Yeah, I have actually. He's actually just 2 meters away doing some purple sectors in his own room behind me. So
perfect.
I'm on the commentary, he's on the sim. So it's a bit of a flat get together online.
Excellent, just burning through that internet data tonight.
Exactly.
So that's great to hear.
Hopefully
hopefully you can get through and actually use it for something productive later in the week, eh? So Matty Griffin there, P6, very familiar name. Long-time KartSport Mount Wellington supporter. Him and his dad, Laurie Griffin, running out of Auckland. Blake Dowd, with a good name to see back. I haven't seen Blake for a while. Sorry, I lie. Actually, I haven't seen him for a while. I haven't seen him for 7 days. Blake was running with us every night, so he top performer last week. Wayne Phipps in the driver's seat tonight. His son Aston's actually away at the moment. Wayne was messaging me earlier on, so if you see the Wayne Phipps mobile spinning out and doing all sorts of mad stuff, it's actually the team owner at the tiller tonight, so we'll be giving Wayne plenty of stick, no doubt. Running in P8 at the moment, doing a really good job. Aaron Black, the South Island driver. P9, Nathan Crang rounding out your top 10, the NZ Motorsport driver running there in P10. So probably a few names in there that you'd certainly recognise there, Ari, no doubt.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you've mentioned it before, but the great thing about sim racing is that obviously in karting we race in our classes depending on our age group, but this gives a chance for someone who's in cadets to race against someone who's in seniors or even a professional motor racing driver, all the way like Shane Van Gisbergen, I've seen you've had on a couple of weeks ago, and even Scott McLaughlin. So it's such a great platform to see how you are against these more experienced people. And but yeah, there's definitely heaps of names I see all the way from cadets to seniors, and even we've got Simon there who helps out for the Wellington Club.
Yes, yeah, that's right.
So it's awesome to see him there. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting night. Interesting to see not many people in the draft, or as we see here. I think the draft is going to be crucial tonight, especially in qualifying here. There's a lot of big straights, obviously around the Parabolica, and then also into the Curva Grande.
Yeah, that's right, and we have noticed, certainly, obviously we kicked the series off at Phillip Island, and we did notice, Mercedes certainly did have a bit of an advantage there, and last week certainly did see the Mercedes through a lot of the faster sections, certainly did have an advantage. Actually, when we do talk about how the iRacing platform actually works, as accurate as possible, the way the tracks are scanned are very accurate, so the actual performance and the parity between the vehicles is actually real life. So, and when you talk to guys like SVG and Dave Reynolds and Fabian and those sort of guys that run at the Bathurst 12 hour, they talk about different makes having different advantages at the Bathurst 12 hour. And from what we've seen the last couple of weeks, iRacing do have it on point with the difference between the vehicles. So it's quite interesting to see. But how you talk about that draft, we certainly have seen over the last couple of weeks that does really come into play.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the great thing about GT racing all around the world, not only on the simulator, but also in real life, you know, you have the manufacturers coming in, have the R&D from those manufacturers to then compete against each other and see who comes on top. And the great thing about GT racing is the cars are so relevant to cars you can buy on the road, although they are probably the more pricey section of the car.
Yes. Yeah, a little bit more carbon in them, but yeah.
That always is it.
Perfect. So as we're on board here with Nathan Anderson, so that's in the ITM livery Audi R8. So he's had the headlights flashing before, so he's obviously on an absolute flyer here. If you've got the chance there, team, you can jump on the simspeed.tv. That's got all our live timing, all the sectors, so you can be those. You can get your full Roland Dane hat on tonight. Get that live timing up, and all those father engineers out there on the sitting on the couch watching their sons or daughters on the sims, they can get right into that data and have a good look at all those splits that are available on that simspeed.tv. So jump on there. Team's certainly a really good tool for you to use as a spectator, even on top of the visuals that we're seeing in front of us. So as we follow Nathan Anderson down into the Varantian first section of the chicanes off the front straight there, big through the long right-hander, and this is going to take us up the far northern part of the circuit. And as you said, Ari, lots of big fast turns here. GT3 cars, really do produce a big amount of downforce, so it's probably going to favour the brave, you'd say, through a lot of faster sections here at Monza tonight.
Yeah, exactly, and I can't wait for the racing to see the big lunges into those chicanes, into turn 1, turn 2, 5 and 4. It might be a little bit reminiscent. So it remind me of Goldstone the weekend with turn 2 being a bit chaotic, if you like.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, very much so. We were talking about that off here just before, weren't we? So as we see some visuals here of Paul Bonkers, he's jumped in a Ferrari for the evening, and still got his ever familiar Muzz Minion Motorsport livery on there. There obviously must be a story to it. I personally don't know it, but along with Andrew Waite and SVG, they've come up with some horrendous livery there and some mad sponsorship through the Minion movie. So really how they've wrangled that off, I'm not too sure, but they seem to be pulling it off. So good to see Paulie back in the seat tonight. As we said, P4 had a really good week last week along with SVG. Andrew Waite, their teammate, leading them down a little bit, actually getting in most of the races. So not sure if Andrew's going to be joining us tonight. So a little over a minute left in qualifying here, team. Some really cool visuals as Scotty Fountains parked us just under one of the bridges there for a second. So obviously Nathan Anderson just popping in our quickest lap there so far, 48.9, so just under that 149 second mark. Got a reasonably tight margin there just in front of Travis Smith. So Travis reasonably close, and we're going 2 tenths back to Isaac Fletcher, Paul Blomqvist 3 tenths back, and then we get into those second margins. You might have to knock on your flatmate's door, mate. Tell him to get a bit of a wriggle on there in P5, Ari.
Yeah, well, I mentioned that I was going to do some commentary tonight, and straight away he hopped on the simulator and decided to do some laps. He's not going too bad. He does spend a fair bit of time in it, but Christian being Christian, he loves to drive the sprint car and midget on most nights. So this tarmac stuff he's still learning a bit, but he's getting better and better, and looks like he's not far off the pace there with only being a second off.
Yeah, that's a good effort considering he'd be trying to drive his car or his midget or a sprint car normally on the right rear, driving it sideways. So to get into P5 there, that's good. So as we look at our final qualifying results here, team GT3 from Monza, ignoring the Dallara F3, that's not the car we're running tonight. Nathan Anderson, no surprise, been a top performer the last couple of weeks there. P1, Travis Smith, our own Travis Smith there, and P2, Isaac Fletcher, P3. Paul Blomqvist in 4, Christian Hermansen P5. We were just talking about. Good to see Blake Dowdall back up there, being a campaigner every week. So really, Mercedes showing their arms so far here at Monza.
Looks very dominant here.
Yes, that's right, Ari. Exactly, as we did talk about the big fast sections here. So will we see a Mercedes dominated evening? We hope not. Some Audi branded stuff in there, and we can get some mixed up results in there. So Matthew Griffin there, P7, James Anderson there in P8, Daniel Harvey, the Dunedin driver, P9, Aaron Black in P10, rounding out our top 10. Just a little under a minute and a half. Sorry, a second and a half, minute and a half. God, they'd have a problem if that was the margin, wouldn't it? Just over a second and a half off P1. So good to see, obviously, an Audi on P1, really fitting in, obviously supporting our partner Giltrap Group. Wayne Phipps there, P11. Good job there by Wayne, considering he probably hasn't done much on the simulator, and Aston's been taking up most of the time on there. Nathan Crane, P12. Taylor Bryant, 13. Braden Snowden, the Whangarei driver there, and 14. Frank Gilbert, 15. Simon Burling Clara, Just Stewart out of Wellington. Leroy Stevenson in there, P17. Good to have him back. That's a name from a long time ago. Mike Muir, 18. Callum Pratt, and Ollie Workman there in P20. So that rounds out our top 20 for qualifying there, team. We will cut to a very short break, and we'll be back very shortly with race 1. 8 laps with our qualifying grids, our starting positions. Look forward to it.
I don't wanna work every day just to pay bills and die. I need freedom.
The most realistic online racing sim ever made. This is iRacing. Detailed laser scan tracks, fully dynamic real world cars, and over 50 series to choose from. 6 online world championships offering over $100,000 in annual prizes. This is the original eSport racing game. This is iRacing.
fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction. He's got really outside both of them. Maloney.
Oh, he's taken Anderson. Anderson's up top.
Oh my God.
Oh.
Big crash. Oh my goodness, half the field's going to get rolled.
It's very close. These guys are going to want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, there we go. Oh no, that's massive. This is it. This is over. I can't believe this. Oh my God.
God, what?
All right, welcome back there, team. Obviously, qualifying is done and run. Just had a 20-minute qualifying session. Now we're into race 1 here at Monza. GT3 cars, as we said, 8 laps is the distance. Running off our qualifying positions. Nathan Anderson was the winner from qualifying. Been an outstanding performer in the last couple of weeks. And in his ITM livery R8 there, topping the timesheets again. So we'll be all getting gridded up very shortly. Rolling start tonight here from Monza. What are you expecting first turn there, Ari?
Well, turn 1's tight, and we got around 30 cars going into it, so it's going to be pretty interesting to see what happens. There'll be a few that cut the chicane, I'm sure, and I think the officials are going to have a bit of a good time trying to figure out who did the right thing and who didn't.
And as we say, we're underway here. So Nathan Anderson running down the right-hand side into the first chicane. We'll see what comes through. It's a very, very fast start. So Paulie Blomqvist has got the hip and shoulder from someone. He's going to have to go through, cut the chicane, just like you said there, Ari. Looks like everyone's behaving themselves as we see Paulie Blomqvist file through. So he's probably just going to jump just inside the top 10. Nathan Anderson's established himself a pretty good lead so far. So far, so good there, Ari.
Yeah, not too bad, to be honest, but a lot better than I was expecting. It's be interesting. We've got an R8 out in the lead, followed by a bunch of Mercs. So we'll see if the Mercs can work together and catch that R8 back up. I've heard and I've seen that Mercs are better in the straight line, but potentially has some understeer later on in the race. So it's all about, big crash there. Curva Grande. A couple went off, I'm not sure the names, but I wouldn't like to be in those cars, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's a pretty fast part of the circuit, and obviously everyone's just waiting for that tyre temp to come up. And when you're carrying a hell of a lot of speed, as we see the damage ensuing as everyone starts to tidy themselves up. So Cameron Freeman there, he's in the Penrite livery in the Mercedes there as well. He's been with us every night. So Cameron's had a couple of good finishes there. So Cameron's going to slot back in down into 22nd position there. So we've still got a couple of guys sort of trying to sort themselves out, especially through some of those chicanes as we go up through the section here. So a really fast exit, it's really tight on the entry. Really got to try and get the car slowed down, because if you get through the left too fast, the right becomes a lot tighter, then the left becomes a lot tighter. So you've always got to think 1 or 2 corners ahead, don't you, Ari?
Exactly, and there's an old saying out there, slow and fast out. And the stopwatch ends at the end of the corner, not the start of the corner. So I think especially in these cars, I think going a little bit slower and early when the tyres are cold, getting good exits and making those straights worthwhile.
That's right, as we see Paul Blomqvist, nice clean entry as we get into the first chicane there. He's got Braden Snowden behind him. So Braden running the Mercedes like he was last week, just in that standard black livery. Personally a big fan of that. That looks really, really sharp. And then in behind him we've got Wayne Phipps. So Wayne doing a really good job. He's jumped in the driver's seat. His son Aston's away obviously on school holidays. Wasn't competing down at Gold Star because I think Aston was obviously still away. So bit of a shame. Would have been good to see the Junior Max driver competing down Hastings in the weekend. But Wayne, as dad, he's jumped in the driver's seat tonight. Really experienced karter. Used to race sort of back in my era at a really high level. To national New Zealand champion. The Phipps family really synonymous with karting for a long time there. Amiga karts back in the day. So good to see Wayne joining us tonight there, running in 6 and 7. So certainly doing a really good job. So either he's really cracked that fixed setup tonight there, Ari, or he's done more sim racing than he's leading on, I think.
Yeah, I think might it be a bit of a hobby on the side, some sim racing. But just going back to Aston Phipps, he's a really good driver. I've watched him come through cadets and now in Junior Max now, and he's definitely one to watch for the future. Got a really good head on him, and can definitely pull out a race when he needs to. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how he does in Junior Max for the rest of the year, and then fourth into seniors and so on.
Yes, we jump on board here with the battle for 9th and 10th. So Leroy Stevenson there for a second. Jump back to 14th and 15th. So Cameron Freeman and Sonny Bull Harwood here. So we've got a gaggle of 4 cars here. The R8's trying to utilise that aero that the R8 is synonymous with. But as we get up into the faster sections of the straight, you can really see that Mercedes pull out, can't you, Ari?
Yeah, exactly. It's interesting. None of them's trying to break the toe, so we'll see if that. Oh, and there's another car coming out of the pit, so it's going to get interesting here into turn 1. We've got 4 cars on the outside, 1 car coming in out of the pits. Oh, there's a Mercedes that takes a dive there.
And obviously braking on that right-hand side too, coming out of pit lane, certainly going to make the first part of that chicane a hell of a lot tighter, but looks as though they've all got round. As we see up on our Tasman Karts logo up on the right-hand side, our own Travis Smith has actually pulled out the fastest lap, so 1:49.6. So obviously still a fair way off their qualifying times. We don't expect them to probably get too far close to that at this stage. We are 3 laps in of 8. We're probably expecting the window, that 4-5 lap windows, probably where we'll see the cars at their optimum, and we might see a little bit of dig further close to that sort of lap 6 and 7. So, but obviously, as we mentioned, big aero here at Monza. These guys will certainly be trying to make the most of it. As we go back through our battle, we got a bit of a moment there.
Into the fence.
Managed to sort of collect his driver's door there on the left-hand side. So that car's going to be carrying a little bit of damage, as we can see, just struggling to get the car straight. That's certainly going to. So that's Aaron Black. That's the Dunedin driver, and he's probably going to be heading back for a fast repair because I don't think the thing's going to be turning left anytime soon.
And he's in the fence again.
So just really finishing off what damage wasn't done when he went into the fence there, Ari.
Yeah, I don't think his mechanic's going to be too happy with him, but I guess that's racing. That's what they're there for. So we'll see how fast he can get that repaired and get back on track.
So back up here on the pit straight, so we'll see these guys getting down into turn 1. So the BMW's pulled out, and one of the few McLarens we've got there. So really would be good to see. So Ollie Workman running the McLaren last week. Must say that McLaren didn't look in that good a shape at the end of the last race on last Tuesday. Ollie managed to drag that thing back with 3 wheels and most of the panels hanging off it in the feature race last Tuesday. So Ollie's doing a good job. She's still in one piece tonight. He was a classic story over lockdown. Got half of his simulator and drove the first couple of nights on his keyboard. So he's well into the groove of obviously driving with his steering wheel now. So, but it's as we see some flames running out of the back of Ollie's McLaren there. They're absolutely synonymous.
Here we go.
Big move down there. So that's Braden Snowden going in. So he's probably outbraked himself a little bit. Used Ollie just to keep himself just up on the left-hand curb there, Ari. So wouldn't say it was the nicest move, but they've still managed to keep it both on the island.
It was a strong move and a move that couldn't be returned. So it was a good move. It's all interesting though. I mean, it's all about teamwork on this track. With the draft being so big, I think they need to work together if they want to get away, rather than fight, because they're just going to slow themselves down and potentially get into more chaos than what they don't need to. As you can see, the toe working to a great effect there around the outside, nice and easy as they head into the Parabolica.
Yeah, and you've sort of got to wonder. I think that's the damaged Mercedes that we might have witnessed earlier, wasn't it? I'm not too sure, but
yeah, potentially there. Yeah,
I think that might have been hurting them a little bit. So, but obviously with this race distance, it's a bit of a balancing act, isn't it, Ari? So it's only 8 laps, so you've sort of got to try and push a little bit, but then at the same time, you've got to think of that later on in the run where try and use the draft in the car to try and actually make up all of those gaps. Don't try and drive the wheels off the car and actually, run the car out of tyre and actually start to struggle those last couple of laps. So certainly it's a sprint format, but at the same time, you've still got to drive a bit with your head, don't you?
Yeah, exactly. Especially in sim racing, as I'm sure you guys know, it requires so much concentration, something that I definitely struggle with in terms of sim racing. But my flatmate Christian, who is in P3, it looks like, so he's having a really, really good run there, is very good at, and he makes no mistakes generally. So Look, there's about 6.3 seconds between him and the leader, so I'm hoping he can get up there and do the Palmerston North flat proud.
Yeah, very much so. That's right. You might have to take him in a couple of Powerades or something in between the races, mate, to keep him hydrated. So he's got Paulie Bonquist breathing down his neck at the moment. So Paul's normally big on the headlights, and he'll be flashing those, getting right in Christian's mirrors. And but as you said, Christian normally used to driving sideways, mid cars on iRacing, so he's just outbraked himself a little bit there, but managed to pull the speed out mid-turn as we make our way down the pit straight to click off another lap here at Monza, and we're certainly getting down to that last quarter of the race, aren't we?
And it's Mercedes versus Ferrari here, so it's going to be interesting to see if the Ferrari's got its legs. But the Mercedes looks a little bit quicker as we go into the braking zone into turn 1. Paul was late on the brakes, very late, and managed to pull it up too.
Certainly, he got himself down. Paul is a fan of missing an apex, but he seems to be hitting them all tonight. But he's got a really, really bad run. Looks like he's just tied the car down a little bit too much coming off, and seemed to have lost a little bit of momentum there, which is a bit of a shame because he is running out of laps. He's got to start making those moves. As we see the battle here of Taylor Bryant and Mike Muir down into turn 1 that we talked about. Really good move there. Nice solid outbraking manoeuvre. Didn't outbrake himself. Stayed right next to the car he was passing, and they gave themselves plenty of racing room there. So did you see James Anderson's just popped up with the fastest lap? So correct me if I'm wrong. I think Nathan and James are actually brothers, coming out of the Anderson Racing stable there. Very famous name in the muscle car fraternity in New Zealand.
And they're doing well too.
Doing very well. So the internet will be going absolutely spastic at their place tonight, trying to keep up with everything, no doubt. So Shane McLeod here as we jump aboard. So back to this battle here. Here's your flat, mate.
Here we go.
He's managed to grab a bit of curb. And Paul Bonquist done a lot of Porsche Carrera Cup racing in Sweden. So Paul's certainly no stranger of a GT3 style car. And certainly does a lot of sim racing with his brother Tom at the moment, while Tom can't compete overseas. So certainly see that Mercedes has got the legs on Paul at the moment through those faster sections, really pulling those little bits of gap, and Paul having to sort of nearly outbrake himself to pull that gap back under brakes. So that might hurt him on exit though, Ari.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's all about not making a mistake, really, especially with only 1 lap to go. So easy to make a mistake on these simulators. We'll see how we go for the rest of the lap.
So obviously we've got a bit of a replay here. So Oscar Goldfinch and Mike Muir. So have they come together previously? Because he's got right into the right rear panel and spun Mike Muir around there. So either there's a little bit of history there, but
that definitely would be a pushback penalty there for a Racing Gold Star last weekend.
Yeah, that's right, exactly. So you can see he's actually come off the curb there by the look of it. So there might have not been too much in it. But obviously the following car didn't look like it lifted too much either. So, but they've just carried on and managed to obviously spin the Mercedes out there, which is a bit of a shame as we go back to our live coverage. So, as we said, the laps are counting down, 7 of 8. We've got a massive battle on here, Ari. So obviously positioned sort of through 11th through to 13th. So we've got cars going everywhere.
Down the inside, no grip down the inside. Manages to slot in. There's a couple that go over the curb. I'd hate to be looking at the suspension after this race. There might be a few damaged shock absorbers out there.
They've done pretty well. The fluorescent pink Ferraris managed to get the thing pulled up right on the pole line, right on the dirty part of the track, and hasn't managed to tag anyone, as we've spoken to early. And while they were all being really, really polite there for a second, it's just gone absolute chaos there for a second. So
that's a dangerous re-entry. Oh no.
We've got dangerous re-entries. We've got people coming on. So the last lap, people is further down through that middle sort of 10th to 13th position. We've got she's all turned manic there.
That's become a very expensive last lap, unfortunately.
That's exactly. So the Ferrari parts bin's going to be raided, as we see one of the Mercedes touring down pit lane. That's Christian touring into pit lane, so he'll be coming in for a quick repair. So that's a bit of a shame because obviously Christian was doing a really good job there with Paul hunting him down, and only on the final lap. So that's a big shame for your flatmate there.
Yeah, he's going to be gutted. I'm probably going to have to avoid him tonight. we'll try and just lock him in his room and see how it goes from there.
And saying that, we've got the reverse grid, race 2, so 8 laps is the distance for the next one. Full reverse grid, so that's going to bring Christian up. He'll have a good chance, in saying that he started up near the front for the last one, so hopefully he can have a better one in the next run. So as we're chasing the vehicle there of Callum Pratt there, running in P6, and he's running.
Looks like there's some trippy aero upgrades going on there. Bit of front bumper, added downforce with an offset rear wing.
Yeah, so he might have, as we see Wayne Phipps dropping a wheel off there, so might have given him a little bit of the commentator's curse. So he's had a bad run off there, so Callum's in the draft as we talk about. He's got to go the long way round.
And that is risky, under the bridge.
As they've gone under the bridge, that reminds me of an accident that Chris Vanderdrift had years ago in a Formula car, very, very similar. So Wayne's, as they've been running down there, so has Wayne come across to the right or has Callum gone to the left? We've got Scotty Fountain sorting us a motor simulation replay here, so as we see, we just catch that at the tail end, so it looks like Wayne might not have seen him because he certainly wasn't anywhere near the B pillar. Wayne might have been fading to the right and Callum's nose was just in there on Wayne's right-hand side, and Wayne's ended up scraping the top of the bridge there, Ari, so that's a bit of a shame for him. He's doing such a good job.
Yeah, exactly. That's a case of two going into the same gap and not working out for them, so yeah, it's a shame. But they're going to have a good position for the next race, like you said.
Yeah, that's right. Grid. Obviously, as we see that replay there, so they both stayed pretty much straight as they went down the hill underneath the Brembo Bridge. So I think one's moved just to the right, one's moved just to the left, and as we said, probably not a whole lot in it. But in saying that, if we saw some onboard data, we might have seen some hard right hand or some hard left hand down. you never know your luck. So, but we're not Beardo. We don't have access to all that data. So as the race is just finishing up, so obviously here we go. The ITM, the Anderson family, absolute stellar performance by both them. ITM would be absolutely stoked. So first and third for those boys. Our own Travis Smith there in P2. Paul Blomqvist in P4. While he was a long way off the leaders, 15 seconds back. Really good showing by Paul. As we see the Anderson Team Anderson there finishing off their roll-up lap. So really cool. They put a lot of effort into their livery tonight, getting plenty of coverage, which is really good to see. And
looking very professional, very smart. Good to see.
Yeah, exactly. Doing their long-time sponsors ITM, some really good value there. So as we said, Paul Blomqvist P4, Braden Snowden P5. Good to see the Whangarei driver having a solid finish there. Callum Pratt rounding out the P6. Leroy Stevenson there in P8 as well. That's a name from a long way back. So all a good first 8 laps there, Ari. All reasonably clean. A couple of little hiccups there, but to be expected. And but all in all, a bloody good race to kick the night off with.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I mean, Monza's such a great track. The cars are awesome. Having different cars with the GT3 category is fantastic to watch, and learning about their strengths and weaknesses. Obviously, the Mercedes looks very quick down the straight. The R8 has better aero. But I guess the key thing as well with the Mercedes, the Achilles heel, is it does have a bit of understeer late in the race. So we'll see how that develops over the next race.
Yeah, that's right. As we see the Anderson boys just finishing themselves off. So that completes our first race of the night there, team. 8 laps running off our qualifying positions. And obviously we've got 2 races left tonight in our Tasman Karts supported series. 3 nights we've been running GT3 cars and finishing off tonight here at Monza. So great to have Tasman Karts supporting us for our final night. Brendan Gridley there, fresh off a big weekend at Gold Star in Hastings. Big supporter of KartSport here in New Zealand. And given that, we'll be back for race 2 very shortly. 8 laps the distance again. We're a full reverse grid, so look forward to that, and we'll be seeing you very shortly.
Carter's tires, what's stopping you?
Have you ever thought about what's stopping you? Carter's Tyres is New Zealand's largest independent tyre dealer. 100% New Zealand owned and operated, they supply tyres to the biggest trucks and to the smallest family wagons. From tractors to racing cars. From the far north to the deepest south, Carter's Tyres fit the right tyres to the right vehicle. They sell 10 brands, not just one or two. And with over 20 years in the business, you can trust their tyres are as reliable as their word.
Carter's Tires. What's stopping you?
So, what's stopping you?
I don't want to work every day just to pay bills and die. I need freedom.
Have you ever thought about what's stopping you? Carter's Tyres is New Zealand's largest independent tyre dealer. 100% New Zealand owned and operated, they supply tyres to the biggest trucks and to the smallest family wagons. From tractors to racing cars. From the far north to the deepest south, Carter's Tyres fit the right tyres to the right vehicle. They sell 10 brands, not just one or two. And with over 20 years in the business, you can trust their tyres are as reliable as their word.
Carter's Tires. What's stopping you?
So, what's stopping you?
Okay, welcome back, KartSport family. Welcome back to Monza, obviously. And we've got race 2 coming up very shortly. So, race 1, run and won by very dominant performance by the Team Anderson, the Anderson team running out of Auckland under the ITM Livery. Really famous motorsport team, going back a long way, especially these days in the Central Muscle Car side of things. So really good to see those guys. Really well presented team tonight, weren't they, Ari?
Yeah, exactly. It's great to have the same livery on 2 different types of cars as well, and then obviously a bit of a parade lap at the end there, which sort of added to the spectacle. So we'll see how they go on the reverse grid. Hopefully we can see some other names up there as well fighting for the wins. So we'll see how we go on such a cool track, being in Monza, Italy.
Yeah, that's right. So, and obviously as we touched on before, so 8 laps is the distance, same again, full reverse grid. So heading down into our first chicane didn't cause us too many problems last time, but now we've got some of the lesser performing or some of the slower cars at the front of the grid now, and our faster, more experienced drivers are going to be at the back. So heading down into Varanti into that first chicane, I would say we're probably going to expect a bit more action this time, Ari.
Yeah, hopefully for the for our perspective in terms of turn 1. Hey, it'll be a bit like the mixed grids at Gold Star last weekend. It was always good to watch, always interesting to see who was going to take the risk and who was going to wait and see what would happen in front of them. So hopefully we'll see a bit of a repeat here into race 2.
Yeah, that's right. It's very much this is very much a mixed grid format we're looking at, isn't it? So we've got, even though it has taken a bit with some of the faster people to the front, the slower people, fast people to the back, slow people to the front. We've got a random grid draw for the third race tonight, but it's going to be very, very similar to what we would have experienced at Gold Star on the weekend, which produced some fantastic racing, massive fields, brilliant weather. It ticked every box really, I think, and there were some pretty impressed families and some really happy drivers coming out of the weekend.
It was such a great atmosphere there. Like I said before, I was racing, and obviously Tony yourself was mechanicking, and I think everyone there really enjoyed it. Great to be back at a track again, and what a meeting to kick it all off again. Gold Star, meant to be the step up from a club day, but it almost was the Nationals that never were. That never was down in Christchurch.
And we're going green already, so that's come across as pretty quick. So as we see, is that Ollie Workman disappearing off into the chicane, or that's his livery? Not too sure if that was actually him. Yeah, there we go. So we've got a couple of spinners just heading through the right. Yeah, so that was Ollie firing it down the escape road there. Matthew Griffin currently in P2, and Nathan Crane, a familiar name there, in P3. So reasonably uneventful. So we're going to see Ollie Workman with a readdress there by the look of it, maybe. Nice clean move there. So couple of good moves as we head down into the second chicane section there.
Oh, and we've got someone's around already.
Yeah, we've got one little spinner as they exit off the right-hander, maybe just a little bit too excited on throttle as they exit the right-hander. Remember, they are all on cold tyres. As people are starting to run the pole line, go defensive already, Ari. The elbows are out already, mate.
Exactly, the aggression's gone up a notch here. We're going to see what happens down underneath the bridge here. Oh, someone's nearly gone around again. And again, simulator racing is just all about consistency, which is easier said than done, keeping you out of the carnage.
Yeah, that's right. So Carson Daly just gathering himself up as he's right up through the northern part of the section. So Ollie Workman just out there fixing his divots. He's right up there in the bunker at the moment. So Ollie's just trying to recover. He had a good start before he actually straight lined the chicane. So let's hope Ollie can just get the head down, just press reset, not literally on your keyboard, but just press reset, gather yourself back up. As we see, that might be Paul Blomqvist passing him. So Paul's chasing down Nathan Anderson there. So we'll watch their progress closely. So Nathan's already up into P12, and Paul and Daniel Harvey following there in 13 and 14. So as we head down into the chicane for the second time there, so we've ticked off lap 1 there, Ari. 3 wide, 4 wide, Nelly.
Here we go. Watch this. Watch this. It's going to be interesting. Oh, his touch. Oh, and someone's around already. Ferrari's on the curb.
Someone's got a
Ferrari
hip and shouldered. And that happened even before we got into the turn. They were hip and shouldering one another into their braking.
And they're still side by side. But again, looks like the Mercedes has got the legs in terms of horsepower. Definitely the car to have at this track.
Yeah, they must have the restrictors pulled out of those things or something, because they're really stretching the legs on everyone around here. So, but as we said earlier on, the Mercedes does tend to develop a bit of understeer later on the run. So we'll see how much that hurts me. So we can see Paulie Blomqvist there, and we've got all sorts of action going on here. So Taylor Bryant in the thick of it again. I think he might have been in a couple of little dust-ups in that first race as well too. So Taylor there in the Rush Racing livery Mercedes, I think that's him. And so he's sort of in front of that battle pack there. So Taylor running in 5, Nathan Krang just behind him in P6. Paul Blomqvist is going to run down the outside as we head down up into the next...
3 wide.
Yeah, 3 wide, Nelly. That's right. Yeah, God. It's all go. So Paul's pulled back into line. He's right up into the bumper of the purple Ferrari there. So Paul's using all the apron on exit. A little bit too heavy on the throttle. And we've got
someone around again.
And we've got someone as they pull out onto the track.
That's Christian. My flatmate, he is gone. It's not going to be a good night in the flat tonight.
Oh, Christian's lost his marbles. So he was, and he had all the makings of going very, very well. As we see, Paulie Blomqvist probably already overheated the rear tyres. He's running wide up through the Parabolica, through the last turn onto the pit straight. So here's Hermo. So he's trying to gather himself up. So we've got a modem simulation replay here, so this is going to tell us a bit more what happened. So using all the apron on the outside, they've come to rejoin, and they've just tagged the right rear there. So that's really, really unfortunate for Christian. He was sort of had no real doing that. He just had his steering wheel nice and straight.
He's come back onto the field as well, called absolute chaos.
Yeah, so
trying to avoid him.
So initially down at the left-hander, that actually wasn't his fault, but then he's managed to take a couple of people in sympathy with a damaged car as he starts to gather himself up. And no doubt, depending on how much damage he's got, he might have to go back for a quick repair as well, as we see him touring in around the Parabolica into pit lane there. So it's a shame for him. That's another scratch through his name for this race, and we'll see how he goes in the next one. So back up with our onto our leaderboard, and I think we've seen Matthew Griffin pop into the lead there. So yeah, Matthew Griffin's our leader. 3.5 seconds is his margin over Blake Dowdle. But our battle pack, this is the one we're keeping an eye on the moment, Ari. So Nathan Craig leading this battle pack here, and he's got some hard charges behind him at the moment.
We've got Anderson underneath. Yeah, exactly. I mean, the battle pack is where it's all happening. But I think the secret is doing what Matt Griffin is doing, and that's pulling a lead, getting away, and getting out of the scrappy bunch, if you like, because that's definitely the place where all the action's happening and where people are having crashes and then having to come in for repairs. But it looks like the two Andersons are working their way through nicely. They're working together. They're sort of, you could throw a blanket over them if you like, and I don't think they're going to crash into each other. They're going to work together and try and get up to that top 4 position.
Yeah, that's right. So as we jump on board here with Matthew Griffin, so he's into Varenti, into that first all-important chicane here at Monza. So as we go on board with him, as he goes up through the Bossiano turn and through the big long run up into the northern part of the circuit. This is what we're talking about with the GT3 cars. Lots of lateral grip in these cars through these fast sections. Really rewards a brave driver. Matthew really hitting all his marks, and he's doing a good job here in the RE.
Yeah, really good. Hey, interesting thing about this track as well, you see the spectators in the trees on the inside. One of the great things about this track is you can actually walk around the whole way around the track and watch the cars from every different corner. There's no set areas to watch, so just an interesting fact from this track. But
Yeah.
Matthew's doing a fantastic job. Obviously, he's a really experienced kart driver and car driver, and that's really showing here today. Obviously, on the apexes, not over driving, but definitely on the limit. Through here, over the curbs. Using all the curbs is really important through that section, and then obviously then the car flow out and up to the parabolica.
As you can see, Sonny Bill Harwood certainly in the wars again. He's managed to lose another Ferrari bonnet, so the damage repair bill's going right through the roof for his team tonight, as we've got a replay here. So that's sort of the tail end of it. So it looks like, and it might be a dangerous redrawing. As we see, not sure where he is on the circuit, but
an interesting livery there. I think that's a big Kev or a bit of a YouTube inspired livery.
Yes, yeah, no, that's
big Les, I think it is.
Okay, that's well below my knowledge of YouTube, mate. I wouldn't have picked up on that. I can't help you. I'm sorry. If it had like a four-wheel drive or a 70 Series Toyota on the side of it, I would have picked it straight away, mate. But no, you've lost me at that one, I'm afraid. So as we go back to this pack arrow, so this is that battle pack from sort of 6th through to 10th that we were talking about. So Aaron Black, we can see he's in 4th position there in the Mercedes, and he's right in the middle. So we can see them start to spread out through the faster stuff. And Aaron's actually in 4th position, so this battle pack's actually a fair way up. Wayne Phipps there in P3, and Blake Dowdall there running in P2. So, and once we'll see that ITM livery just start to pop up. These Anderson boys have really carved their way through the field, and Paul Blancos was running with them. He's languishing back in P11, 15 seconds off the lead. So
there you go. There's a pass down the inside. It'll be interesting to see how that came off. But it definitely looks like Nathan Anderson has started to pull away. He's sort of broken the bunch, if you like, and is on his way to Wayne Phipps.
Yeah, that's right. So I'd say Wayne is going to have a car full of ITM livery very shortly. And so Matthew's lead's just trimmed to 2.5 seconds. So we're on board with him. He was doing a good job. As we see, that's Nathan. Nathan Anderson.
He's out.
Has had a moment.
Just avoided crashing with the other cars coming through.
That's a shame. So that was going through the Ascari section, if I'm right. So that's a real shame for Nathan. He was doing a good job. Had just chipped his way through, kept the car nice and clean, and kept the car nice and straight, and managed to get caught up in that. So
he is still only 11. So it'll be interesting to see if he can work his way back up to that bunch and maybe see what payback potentially happens.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Is he going to throw the race and someone somewhere?
And we're going to go 2 wide, nearly 3 wide again, or 3 wide behind.
Most definitely throw it down the inside. Oh, he's outbraked himself and turned in too early.
Here we go again, over the curb. There's a suspension or two.
So did Braden Snowden see that car coming down the inside? Because he did turn in on the brake. Either he was trying to turn in early or actually trying to cover that line, but sort of cover a little bit too late and got the old hip and shoulder on the right hand side. So shame for Braden. As we go back on board, so this pack here is going absolutely nuts, aren't they?
All on. Here we go. Ferrari down the inside.
And one of the Mercedes has been turned around as well too. So.
And this is what I mean. You just do not want to be in this bunch if you want to do well. It's all going on.
And who's picking the pieces up? Paulie Blomqvist, just chipping away there with his pink wheels. There's another car spares off in front of him. And he's made his way up to 6th position, just picking up the pieces. So, he's
good to see from Paul, driving smart and working his way through.
Yeah, that's right. So he must have learned a little bit today while he was in the passenger seat at Hampton Downs. So he's in full race spec tonight, old Paulie. So he can get into the top 4. If he just chips away here, some nice clean laps, so you can see all those boys using all the apron and then some. So they're
Paul's definitely got pace on the side there.
Yeah, that's right.
And now he's in the toe of the 2 Mercs, and one of them looks. The BMW and the Merc.
As they go through the parabolica, so these boys are battling. So Paul's opening the wheel up nice and early, getting that car nice and straight, using all the track that's available. So these boys are going hammer and tong in front of him. Aaron Black and Kyle Dawson. Let's not be surprised if one of them can. Get into up into the first chicane here and end up taking both of them out. So Paul will just sit back, flash his lights. So you can see them getting into one another. We talked about this already.
Here we go. Yep. Oh,
and Paul's outbraked
oh.
himself. Oh, no, mate. What are you
He
doing?
gets through the chicane, okay. He comes out. Oh, clips the barrier.
And
He
hopefully
lets him go again.
he hasn't caused himself any damage, hopefully, with getting through there. So we put the commentator's curse on him, saying he was driving at 85%, doing a good job, and then he just loses his head and goes right outside that 100% range. So he might be carrying a bit of damage there, young Paulie, too, so that's a shame. So he'll might just, if he can conserve there.
There's only one lap left, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. So those laps have gone by very quickly. So Nathan Anderson's in front of him. So I don't think Nathan's actually carrying too much damage. And you can certainly see. And yeah, so we've just been informed that Paul would have got a slowdown penalty for cutting that chicane. So. And so that's where we see the speed. As we see Nathan Anderson come together with Taylor Bryant there up into the Ascari section of chicane. So Nathan Anderson's race has gone from bad to worse. We said he was going to get back up there, battling his way back from 11th after an early race incident. And he's managed to fence himself again with Taylor. That's a shame, isn't it, Ari?
Yeah, big shame. But again, it's just that pack, isn't it? 6 from down to 11.
That's
You've got to get through it cleanly and then drive away. And it looks like Matthew Griffin there is doing also a good job. 1.2 ahead of Blake Dowley now, and Wayne Phipps 13 seconds back. So those two are well cleared out and obviously away from what's going on behind them.
Yeah, that's and all the stuff that we're watching before. We can see that obviously that lead is dropping down a little bit for Matthew. It is the final lap. So we can see there's our margin there. Matthew Griffin to Blake Daddle, that's the margin. So he's only got sort of another half a lap to go. If Matthew can bring it together, just hit your braking marks, we can see Blake using all the apron and then some.
Blake's definitely pushing here. You can see he's using all nearly onto the sand trap there. He's probably trying to get into the draft so he can potentially have a go on the Parabolica. So it'll be interesting to see if he gets in that target zone and maybe have a last cornered lunge.
Yeah, that's right. So as we head down into Ascari, the last couple of really definitive chicanes here at Monza, and then those boys will make their way down to Parabolica. I would say by our visuals that Blake, his margin was just a little bit too far away, would you say, to try and get on the back of Matthew?
Yeah, it would have to be a pretty late one and an interesting one to say the least.
Yeah, we do like the interesting ones though. So as we see back on our visuals, so we can see them running through Parabolica. So Blake's trying everything. We can see plenty of attitude in that Mercedes. Really good drive by Matthew Griffin. A really well-deserved win. He's been a big supporter of the KartSport series since well in the middle of lockdown. So really cool to see Matthew come away with the win. Well earned. Kept out of trouble. Drove the car nice and straight. As we go back to our 4th, 5th, and 6th.
Held 6th position, so that's a decent effort after going through the chicane there.
Yep, that's right. Yeah, very much so.
Back.
And our and furthest up for the Anderson family, so I think ended up being Nathan Anderson in P9. So James languishing all the way down in P23 there, I think it was. So James looks like he had a bit of a shocker there at some stage. So as we see we've
got huge carnage going on.
Yeah, so that's the classic iRacing finish. As soon as everyone goes over the finish line, they manage to absolutely wreck themselves. So, but Matthew Griffin, the winner, Blake Dowdle there in P2. Really good job by Wayne Phipps there. So obviously some bit of coaching by his son Ashton in the previous evenings. Wayne's come away with P3, Cole Dawson P4, Aaron Black P5, and Paul Blomqvist, as we mentioned, rounding out the top 6. So really good job by Paul to come back from overshooting the chicane. Braden Snowden managed to battle back to P8 there. There's our Heat 1 winner, Nathan Anderson, in P9. And Isaac Fletcher, the Tasman Kart supported driver there, rounding out our top 10 there, Ari. So that was fairly action-packed, mate.
Yeah, that was awesome to see. Another great race. I love watching some ladder racing because a little bit of the fear element that otherwise would normally be in car racing is gone, and everyone's there to have a go and have some fun too. So it's been awesome to be a part of it.
That's right. So that concludes race 2 there, team. We'll be back very shortly after these ads for race 3. Random grid. Really looking forward to this to finish our Tasman Karts 3-night series off. See you very shortly.
Have you ever thought about what's stopping you? Carter's Tyres is New Zealand's largest independent tyre dealer. 100% New Zealand owned and operated, they supply tyres to the biggest trucks and to the smallest family wagons. From tractors to racing cars. From the far north to the deepest south, Carter's Tyres fit the right tyres to the right vehicle. They sell 10 brands, not just 1 or 2. And with over 20 years in the business, you can trust their tyres are as reliable as their word.
Carter's Tires. What's stopping you?
So, what's stopping you?
On this week's Cool Cars, the new Volkswagen T-Cross, the Porsche 911 992 C2 is in the showroom, an all-new Lamborghini. Max Verstappen drives the Valkyrie, and we talk to Brendan Hartley. It's all just a click away.
pay bills and die. I need freedom.
So we'll just have a KartSport logo.
Gold Star.
All right, welcome back there, team, to our third night, Tasman Karts supported iRacing League. Race 3 coming up very shortly. Full random grid for this one. This is right up our alley, fresh from a weekend at Gold Star and Hastings. Not quite random grids, but really good to be back in a mixed grid format, wasn't it, Ari?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, New Zealand's actually obviously produces some really good drivers, and a lot of that is down to the mixed grids we have at our Gold Stars, our Top Art, and obviously Club Days, and that's where you learn to pass. It's a passing game rather than being outright fastest, and obviously there's a lot of risk management in that, especially when you only have 8 laps in winter-esque conditions. I think the maximum temperature was 15 degrees last weekend, but my first race on Sunday ended up being around 10 degrees, so definitely that skill comes in, and obviously that shows of such talented drivers racing overseas, like Marcus, Scott Dixon, Liam Lawson, Mitch and Nick Cassidy, and all those guys have all come through the mixed format system, so we're going to see it in sim racing here for the last race.
Yeah, that's right. Certainly couldn't think of a better way to finish the night off as Travis and Scotty are just sorting up the servers and that out now. So obviously big. So we've got some. Oh, here we go. So we're got some live images spreading up. So we'll talk more about upcoming KartSport events. You know, the likes of Pro Kart and the next round of Gold Star coming up as well too. So
yep.
While we've off the back of Gold Star was really exciting, we're really going to keep that momentum up. So into race 3 here, team, as they come around Parabolica for the last time here, getting all warmed up. Rolling start, remember. They'll be starting off once we've got a green light, heading down in towards and the first chicane. So we're all going. We've got cars firing off the back. This is an absolute disaster, Ari. Wow.
Oh, no.
I can't make any sense of who's where or what's
This is what they call the big one, I think.
And there's Paul Blomqvist threading the needle right through the middle, and we're just going to have to wait for things to sort themselves out.
We haven't even reached turn 1 yet.
No, we haven't. And we see Nathan Anderson getting spun. That's our race 1 runner. Blake Dowdle there looks like he's popping out there in second place. And so, yeah, we're just waiting for everyone just to sort of reset a little bit, catch their heads.
Is this a normal race 3 thing, Tony? Is it? Everyone goes nuts.
No, sort of like, well, I would say it's probably been a normal KartSport iRacing thing. You know, we've had a couple of sort of pretty clean races, but the final race normally is everyone's normally in a pretty good groove by then. So, but I think obviously our random grid is really throwing the cat amongst the pigeons. I'm all over it. I think it's fantastic. It's great viewing as we see someone. Just
cold tyres spin.
Yep, cold tyres, too heavy on that throttle, especially in that Mercedes. Is right up the northern end of the circuit. And that's our own Travis Smith, of all people, to be having a spin on cold tyres. I'm going to absolutely torture him when we come off the commentary here. Never going to hear the end of it.
I had one wheel on the steering wheel throwing a yellow flag, so that's my excuse.
And now he's saying that he's trying to throw the yellow flag and trying to steer the race car at the same time. We'll give him that. As we're under the Brembo Bridge, so you can see the old banking of the old Monza circuit there. How cool is that? As we go through Ascaria, following Travis Smith. So we've got a full course yellow now. We can catch our breath. I need to have another sip of my beer there, Ari. This is absolutely nuts to start off with.
Oh, it's gone crazy. What a race already. We weren't even at turn one. We had cars upside down, turned around, 180 degrees. Looking at the order, got Kyle Dawson in front. But hey, mixed grids. But it's all about coming out of the straight and getting past turn one, it looks like.
Yeah, that's right. So we have had the odd night where people have managed to get into one another before we've even got to the green light, and it was certainly no exception. So they've picked a fine place to do it. Obviously, being Monza, one of the spiritual homes of motorsport in Italy and in Europe. As you said, you're fortunate enough to have actually been there in person, and some of the stories you're saying about the scenery and the audio that's generated around the place when a car's running there sounds absolutely amazing.
Yeah, it's such an incredible place. I mean, it's actually based in the city, Monza, which is half an hour outside of Milan, North Milan. And literally you could drive past the park and know that if you didn't know that, you wouldn't know there's a racing track until you actually drive inside and drive underneath the main straight. And then, they not only do they do race events there, but they do BMW driver days on the skid pad. They have a lot of testing regimes there. Fortunately, when I was there, actually, the Porsche factory team were testing their latest RSR there. So the sound of that going around the Monza track, bouncing off the trees, was just incredible. And the crazy thing is that you can literally walk in for free, walk everywhere and watch these brand new cars doing their test regime. And there was a few locals there having a nice relaxing Sunday afternoon watching these cars go round and round. So incredible place, and highly recommend it if you get a chance.
Yeah, very cool. Very, very lucky, Matt, having to go to that and experience such an iconic place. So, and again, given the history that's there, and for those of you that don't know, I haven't seen an aerial shot of the Monza circuit. There's the old banking, and if you look back on some of our visuals, you'll see back up towards Ascari. We're looking at it right now. So the Brembo Bridge there, that paving, it actually looks like a vertical wall. That's the old banking from the old circuit. And talking to Ari and Scotty Fountain, they've actually both been there in person. We were talking off here before. They've actually managed to just make it to the top of that. It's virtually like climbing a vertical wall. So a lot of history. Really, really cool to be racing here.
Exactly. And to add on that, TC, if you're close to YouTube, search up the movie Grand Prix, and they've got a fantastic film sequence there of some old Formula 3 cars dressed up as Formula 1 cars going around as part of that movie. So it's a great sort of idea of what it was like back in those days. And the really other crazy thing is they've got these mad concrete flag points on the outside of the banking. So you can just imagine if you were to touch someone, and you could easily go straight into that concrete flag point. So safety wasn't really a thing back then.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy, isn't it? So if we go, obviously got a bit of an aerial shot here now, which is not quite our Goodyear blimp, if you like, but you'll see on the right-hand side there, so that's the old banking that we're talking about there, team, and that leads onto the current main straight. So really, really impressive, as Ari said. Lots of history. You can YouTube some reconstructed footage, if you like, of some later model race cars done up like some of the old period race cars, and between me YouTubing all my videos, certainly I'll put that on my list there, Ari, and I'll have to check it out there, mate. So as we're still under yellow here, team, just regrouping. Wayne Phipps there, stellar fastest lap, 2 minutes 35. He's got to be happy with that. He's managed to nudge out the fastest lap, even though we're under yellow at the moment. So Wayne's come away with a podium so far tonight, and he got a. You just actually what the actual number was there, Ari.
Yeah.
So we won't have too much longer under yellow here, team. I'd say probably another lap and a bit to go. 3 laps down of our 8-lap race, and then we'll be getting back into the swing of things. So we've got some really cool visuals here with the way the iRacing platform works. You can see all the spectators, and that, as Ari said, you've actually got all access. You can walk all around the infield and walk wherever you like. So it's not many race circuits in the world can actually do that. So obviously not with it being too close to home, but if you ever get the chance to go to Europe, this is certainly one of the tracks that you certainly can visit. So here we are actually up on the old circuit as Scotty
and that's that flag point I was talking about as well.
Yeah, wow, that's absolutely nuts, isn't it? So the old, and it's probably no more than 3 meters actually off the track. So if you did clip a wheel, I'd say, given an old Formula car, hence why there was a lot of fatalities in that area, wasn't
Yeah, I actually, just jumping in there, guys, I tried to run up to that point and hold on to that side, but just I couldn't manage to run up there. But yeah, really cool part of the track, and yeah, it's just amazing that they used to race cars around here, you know.
Yeah, that's right. That's like many famous circuits around the world. There are old sections that are still used, and like Nürburgring, for example. You know, the history that's involved in that place, and Monza certainly is no different. So the lights are out on the safety car there, team.
Here we go.
That signals that we'll be up and running. I haven't seen too many people keeping temperature in their tyres there, Ari.
Well, let's hope we can get down the main straight crash-free, and then we'll see what happens into turn 1.
Yeah, that's right. Just roll the gas on, boys. Nice and patient under those cold tyre temperatures, and just feel the car underneath you, and hopefully we can get through those first couple of turns. So as we look back down the field, you'll see that ever famous, that ITM livery there. So James Anderson P3, Nathan Anderson running out of P11. So keep an eye on those guys. James Anderson certainly got himself in the box seat with the random grid draws.
And we've also got some KartSport young stars there: Nathan Crane, Carson Daly, Isaac Fletcher, Braden Snowden. So we're interested to see how they go against the 2 Anderson boys.
Yeah, that's right. And you touched on it earlier. You know, how cool is it when Matthew Griffin, a returning karter and current car racer, can come and race against some of KartSport New Zealand's current Cadet Mini Rock and Vortex Mini Rock and Junior Max drivers.
Exactly. Here we go.
And we're green there, Ari. That's right. So around the Parabolica. So Cole Dawson's got a bit of a jump. He's got the green flag early. He's set the pace.
And I bet you he's going to be wanting to get into turn 1 apex as quickly as possible to avoid any other freight trains coming down the side.
That's right. He might want to keep so Blake Dowdle's popped out of the slipstream. Half a move, just window shopping at the moment. Got his light to blaze. So far, so good. Real nice, clean run through there for Kyle. So Paul Blomqvist was talking about how much aero the Ferrari's actually got, but it hasn't got much run in a straight line. So looks like Kyle might be taking advantage of that under cold tyres at the moment.
And that looked pretty clean from my perspective. Not many crashes at all. Perfect.
No, I think single file type stuff might have got everyone sort of just reset a little bit under that yellow flag, as we see Nathan Crane having good use of the curbs as we go through the second set of chicanes there at Monza. Hasn't lost any time, still P3, but James Anderson in that BMW is going to be hunting him down very shortly, no doubt.
Yeah, exactly. And we've got a nice top 4 breakaway here, so it's going to be interesting to see if they work together or they bring themselves back to the bunch.
Yeah, so obviously the margin. So Isaac Fletcher, the South Island driver there, the Tasman Kart supported driver, so he's got that further back margin on those boys, and then he's only got sort of a second and a bit back to the drivers behind him. So we'll keep an eye on young Isaac. He's been a supporter the whole way through, so it'd be good to see him get a good result as we go on board here. I think we're on board here with Isaac Fletcher, I think that is, and as he tries
like it's a Z4 GTP3, so yes.
Yeah, that's right. As he's got Nathan Crane just ahead of him, so that's not a bad little gap for young Isaac. He can use Nathan Crane. As Nathan Crane actually had a moment as we go through the Parabolica. I was going to say he was just far enough ahead that he could use him as a mobile braking marker. He's actually got nothing now, so Nathan's just gonna Isaac's just got to keep the eyes forward, concentrate on those guys in front of him, keep the vision up, look ahead at those apexes, don't outbrake himself, and really hit all his marks. As we see one of the Ferraris parked up as we go around it, that might be, Peter Romich there. It's just on the tail end of the Parabolica, so might have had a moment, carrying a little bit of damage on the left-hand rear there, Ari, so might have got...
Interesting, didn't go into the pits, so he obviously feels like he's got a not too badly damaged car underneath him that he can continue on and not lose too much time.
We'll find out shortly when he fires into the chicane and the left-hand rear rips off it, maybe, So
see if his brakes work.
So we've got a bit of a replay here, so we see Blake Dowdle just gathering himself up there. So here we go. So Blake Dowdle, so they're going into... he's actually just got reverse spun as they're going up into the second set of chicane there. So that was fairly forceful bit of driving. I think that was, by James Anderson there, who was in P3. So James was just chipping away there, driving nice and clean. It looks like he's got under the rear bumper underneath the rear diffuser there of Blake Dowdle's Mercedes. So he'll have the bit between the teeth there, Ari, trying to close that gap down and get back up onto that P2.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if the stewards back in the pits offer him a pushback penalty there. 10-second penalty, that is, in KartSport.
See what happens when he comes through the weigh shed and see if any of them can pick anything up there. So as we chat, we've got a really good pack consuming here. So we've got the 14th runner there. Carson locked the rear as we get up into Ascari.
That is a good turnaround.
That's he's either got a massive amount of rear bias, even though they can't adjust it. The setups are fixed, but he's just turned in reasonably early, locked the rear brake, and as we go back to a replay, this is going to tell us a little bit more. So he was in clean air. Sorry, that was the replay. Sorry, their team. I've got my replays mixed up with actual visuals. So as we go back. So here we go. We've got a replay of the lead here. So James Anderson's chasing down Cole Dawson into their first chicane here. Pops out pretty textbook stuff. Gets his BMW slowed down. Really clean.
You couldn't want for much better. That's a perfect pass down the inside there.
No, that's right. Good driving by both involved. Cole Dawson's given him heaps of room. He's got that Ferrari tucked back up inside the rear diffuser. He's actually got back inside. So that aero that the Ferrari's producing has actually helped him get round through the Bersani turns as they head up into the second chicane. And James has obviously got the inside line, and he'll be hoping to stretch the legs on that Mercedes. But Blake Dowdle not too far away from those leaders as well there too, Ari.
Yeah, and smart there from Cole Dawson not fighting James too much. He could have easily tried to live around the outside there and ended up on the curbs. So he's obviously playing a smart game. We've got 2 laps to go, so it's all on. Yeah,
that's right. And it was sort of, I'd say the terminal speed, between the BMW and the Ferrari looks quite similar. The Ferrari might have the upper hand with a little bit more aero. As you can see, he can run a little bit narrower. Doesn't need to use as much track as the BMW. So quite an evenly matched pair of cars here, Ari. So this is going to be a really good battle as we go.
He's trying to break the toe now. He's weaving.
So not sure how many movements you're actually allowed, but he's managed to use up all of them if you're allowed a few. So under brake, so Kyle's just managed to narrow that gap down a little bit. He's in a good fighting position here, as if he can stay underneath the diffuser of that BMW of James's car. He shouldn't be dropping the gap too much, and hopefully being with a chance to pass him back. As we jump back in that battle pack of Nathan Anderson's popped up into P3 now. That's caught us by surprise, hasn't it? He's really stormed through there, Ari.
Yeah, it just shows his pace, and it shows the pace of the 2 Anderson boys. 6 seconds behind though. But Isaac Fletcher here. Oh, that's a big curb they're taking. They're taking big risks here on the last lap. And also a fastest lap by Nathan Anderson, a 1:49.3. So that's obviously pretty fast, and just shows how much he's pushing, trying to catch the top 2 there.
Yeah, Isaac Fletcher doing an absolute barnstormer of a drive here. Just really, really calculated, following the guys in front of you. For a young driver, doing an absolutely stellar job. And obviously, as we said, the Tasman Kart supporter driver really fitting that we've got running under the Tasman Kart series. So as they head down into the Ascari for the second to last time, so Isaac really, really closed that gap up. Ran a little bit wide through the first left, and that's really cost him through the right and the left there for a second. Certainly overshot a little bit. Nathan Anderson's got the lights ablaze, and as we head down to the Parabolica for the second time there, Ari.
Yeah, Nathan Anderson car looks like a bit of a disco going down that straight. Be a bit distracting for the driver in front, but it's all part of the tactics, isn't it? As they've gone to the last lap now.
Yeah, very much so. So white flag conditions now, their team, they're taking the lap, or the leaders certainly have anyway. James Anderson, our leader, only 2 tenths is the margin, as we see plenty of weaving going on there from Blake Dowdle. Isaac Fletcher's got himself to the outside, so he's got the right line for the first part of the chicane. As we pan away,
Kyle Dawson, he's off.
And
he's
Kyle
off.
Dawson, that's a big shame. So he was running in second position, wasn't he?
Yes, he was. Yeah, I thought he was playing a smart race, but unfortunately it looks like he's come off from the first chicane of the final lap, so that's going to really cost him. And obviously he's dropped back 3 seconds off the lead now.
So we can see he's dropped back and he's come back into the clutches.
I think we've got a lap car there involved as well. Oh,
yes.
It's all getting super messy.
Yes, we have. So Blake Dowdle and Isaac Fletcher still going hammer and tong. And Blake's obviously carrying a little bit of damage on the bonnet of that Mercedes as well. That might be costing him a little bit of time.
That's high risk around the outside.
But really clean driving by those two. But Isaac Fletcher gives him a bit of a hip and shoulder as they come up right. Blake runs him out of racetrack. We've got a car on the right-hand side.
Big crash.
Oh, no, that's a big shame.
Straight down.
I don't think that was... I'm not too sure. I don't think that was any of our leaders. So final lap as we head up into Ascari here, team. So Isaac Fletcher on the outside. Can he get it stopped? Into the right-hander. He just gets into the left front panel there on the front of Blake Dowdle's car. So Isaac Fletcher's got the elbows out, got the visor down. He's full race face at the moment as we head down into Parabolica for the last time. That's an absolute stellar job by those two, isn't it, Ari?
Yeah, it's crazy out there. Last lap, it's all on. Last race. Braden Snowden there, running the high line around the outside.
And so he's got inside Blake as they've got into the Parabolica, but he's overshot. So Blake's jumped back up into fifth position as we see that. And just finishing off there, so that was the group of Braden Snowden, Matthew Griffin, and the like just finishing off. So James Anderson, our winner. Nathan Anderson coming through in P2. Haven't those guys had a great evening tonight?
Oh, wow. Just class of the field there.
I know. Again. So absolutely stellar.
Classic iRacing crashing going on. But yeah, the Anderson boys obviously doing a fantastic job. They obviously spend a lot of time on the sim together, and it really shows, even after a couple of incidents here and there throughout the track.
Gee, it's a massive accident just there.
We need to do an expression session again, eh?
Yeah, that's right.
V8s.
Yeah, that's right, exactly. So, but God, my certainly driver of the last couple of Isaac Fletcher, absolute barnstormer there. Running door to door with Blake Dowdle, and absolutely stellar effort. So that really mixes the points up. So I would no doubt Travis Smith will do a tally up of the points and post them on the Facebook page this week for everyone to look at. So obviously that concludes our racing tonight there, team. Couple of things to touch on. So obviously big thanks to Brendan Gridley for the last 3 weeks. Without sponsors, Tasman Karts, we talk about our sponsors all the time, don't we, Ari? But without these guys, these type of events don't happen, do they?
Exactly right. In sim racing and obviously in kart racing as well. Gold Star we just had. We're very fortunate to be sponsored by the Giltrap Group, Carter's Tyre Service, Gold Star, TRC Toyota, a whole lot of the karting industry as well, chipping in to make sure that we have the sport we do in New Zealand, and man, what a sport it is.
Yep, very much so. So big thanks to Brendan Gridley, Tasman Kart Supplies, for supporting the last 3 weeks. Some pretty exciting stuff moving forward for the KartSport platform there, team. We're going to be taking a break next week, but keep an eye on the Facebook page for updates. Got a really exciting sponsor in the form of Dillon Photography. Chris Dillon, really well-known photography in the automotive game, does a lot of work with us at Downforce, and so related to a lot of the Giltrap Group brands. So he's well within and knows about the automotive market. Chris is going to put up a really, really exciting prize, and he's proposed to be putting up another Trade Me-based auction for a photo shoot with a reasonably big value of around $1,000, and that's going to go to the highest bidder on Trade Me. So really perfect for those sponsorship proposals there, team. All those young Vortex Mini Rock Junior Max drivers all out there. Keep this in the back of your mind for our next 3-week series that are kicking off, not next week, but probably the week after. Chris Dillon Photography coming on board, and he's going to be putting up a really good prize in the form of an auction of a photo shoot, but more details to come about that. So, but in closing, once again, big thanks to our sponsors. Big thanks to you, Ari, coming along tonight. Hope you thoroughly enjoyed it.
Cheers. No, it's been awesome. Like I said before, I've watched it a couple of weeks ago, but then to be a part of it now has been fantastic. So cheers. Thank you for having me.
No problems at all. Absolute pleasure, mate. It was good, and good to get a bit of Monza insight from you as well, too, considering you'd actually been there too, mate. So thanks for coming along. Really appreciate it. Thanks for everyone supporting Gold Star event in the weekend. Really good for KartSport New Zealand, good for the trade. Support your local kart shops, and Gold Star kicking off again at the start of August.
We've got the Champs round coming up here in Palmerston North in 3 weeks' time, and then also we've got Pro Kart starting back up as well in Tokoroa. So plenty of events starting to kick back into action. So many races that potentially are not racing overseas now. So the field's now as competitive as ever. We've got the likes of Ryan Wood, Crombie, and a whole lot of other people who are. Daniel Bray even was racing the weekend, back racing at a track in New Zealand and locally. So it's no better time to get back onto the track and actually get racing back into your kart.
Yep, perfect. No, couldn't have said it any better. It's good comments to finish on there, Ari. So keep an eye on the Facebook page there, team. Obviously, the iKartSport face page. More details to come regarding the next series that we're going to develop for you. Really good sponsor in the form of Chris Dillon coming on board. Really appreciate that. And obviously our outgoing sponsor in Tasman Kart Supplies. Thank you for your support. And usual partners, Giltrap Group and Carters. Support those that support our sport there, team. And until then, we will see you in a couple of weeks. Thank you very much.
Carter's tires. What's stopping you?
Have you ever thought about what's stopping you? Carter's Tyres is New Zealand's largest independent tyre dealer. 100% New Zealand owned and operated, they supply tyres to the biggest trucks and to the smallest family wagons. From tractors to racing cars. From the far north to the deepest south, Carter's Tyres fit the right tyres to the right vehicle. They sell 10 brands, not just one or two. And with over 20 years in the business, you can trust their tyres are as reliable as their word.
Carter's Tires. What's stopping you?
So, what's stopping you?